Welcome back, boss. Want to know why hiring your child for tax breaks is a great idea for your business? I'm so glad you're here. So you've built an army of little people and now they cost a lot of money and you're trying to save money in your taxes. Well, the good news is, as a business owner, you have some options that are just not available for other parents. So today I'm going to show you how to maximize those tax breaks and teach your children some really valuable hard work life lessons. I'm Amy Walker, Client Acquisition Specialist, and I help small business owners and entrepreneurs create consistent, predictable sales. One of the biggest expenses in your business is taxes.
You just gonna do your taxes, Ness?
So I really get the desire to want to minimize that bill while at the same time children are expensive, and it would be nice to help them make money, be able to spend things on them, and do it tax-free. So first, I'm going to share with you what are the laws for hiring your children. Secondly, I am going to give you some do's and don't recommendations so that you can make sure you're on the up and up. And I do want to talk a little bit about what it's really like hiring your children and give you kind of some of the pros and then the things that you need to be cautious of. And finally, at the end, I'm going to give you a list of things that your child could do for your business that are actually useful, helpful, and they're able to do it. So stick with me until the end. Here's my disclaimer. Not an accountant, not an attorney, do not work for the US government. So everything that I'm giving you here, don't consider it tax advice. Consider it ideas to take to your accountant to discuss with him, and then he or she can give you that tax advice. The first time that my accountant recommended that we should be paying our children from our business, my children are all really small. And I remember thinking, they can't do anything. They're not really super useful. What am I going to pay them for? But the reality is that you are allowed as a small business owner to pay your children up to $12,000 per year for working in your business, and that money is tax-free. That is a big savings, and one that we definitely want to figure out how to maximize. This is also a great way that you can start setting aside funds to save for things like college or just their regular expenses that they do every year. If your children are anything like mine, they are constantly asking for money for something or the other.
Can I have some money, Pop?
So why not give them an opportunity to actually work and learn some valuable life skills while they're earning for you? So what is legitimate work that your kids can do for you in your business, and how can you pay them? There's two things that I want you to look at. The first one is age appropriate, and the second one is wage appropriate. So when my children were small and I was looking at it accountant, what are they supposed to do? I still had some in diapers. And he said, well, I know you do a lot of social media, and I know part of your brand is balancing in business and family. Do you use a lot of pictures of your family? I was like, yes, I do actually. And he said, well, you could pay them modeling fees because they're being used in your advertising campaigns. And I was like, okay, that is age appropriate. Now the second question is, what is wage appropriate? Because how much do child models actually get paid? I wouldn't want the IRS to come to me and be like, so I see that you paid your child $12,000 because you used one image of them in a social media campaign, and I would then feel like I was cheating the system or get in trouble. So what you want to do is actually take the jobs that you're looking at giving them, and then you want to go and see what's the going rate and make sure that they're getting paid within the going rate for what somebody else would be paid in a similar campaign. So let's also bring up a really great point here, which is if you're trying to look for legitimate ways to pay your children, it needs to be actually something that is legitimate and something that is useful. If you're just trying to make up ways and move money from one place to another, I mean, you can try it, but if you do get audited, that's definitely something that they're going to look at. So figure out what are useful things that your children can do in your business to help the business grow. So for me, when they were small, that was pretty much all that I could come up with. Was I did use them. There were pictures on our website. We actually had a blog that we were running back then called Amy Walker Living. And so it was a lot of parenting advice and family stuff, and they were definitely integral on the blog. We were using them in social media, and it was a part of our brand at the time. So that made sense. It was useful, and it was age appropriate, and it was wage appropriate. But it needs to have value. It needs to be something that is going to actually support your business goals and your business growth. Now, the challenge of this is that you're hiring your children, and hiring your children can be sometimes annoying, hard, and create some extra friction. So once you get to the stage where it is age appropriate for them to be doing more hands-on type work inside of your business, there's a couple things that you need to pay attention to. Number one is dependability of your child. Let's be honest that when we were 13, 14, 15, 16, we weren't necessarily the most dependable creatures. And that's been one of the biggest challenges with hiring my kids is their dependability. They're actually good at the things that I teach them how to do, but then sometimes they get inconsistent in showing up, or they're late on deadlines, or they want to stop for a few months because they're busy with school and then they want to start again. So you really have to figure out what are the tasks and how do I balance their need for flexibility with my need for dependability? What tasks can actually fit inside of that category? The next challenge is conflict. Let's be honest, when you have a team member who is not related to you that's bugging you, you tend to deal with it in like a more professional way. But when it's somebody who lives in your house and you're looking at them playing video games while you know that they're behind on their work,
Come on, do your job, man.
there can be more conflict. So you need to go into it understanding that and having a good plan in place and good strategies so you're not wanting to kill each other all the time. The third challenge is free ride syndrome. Now, I'm not saying that every kid gets this, but I am conscientious of this. I don't want my children to ever feel like they're just gonna get a free pass and they'll always have a spot in the business, they'll always have a job in the business if they're not actually producing good work. So how do we make this work? I have 3 children that are really truly old enough to work and be helpful inside of our business. My oldest never wanted to work inside of our business, like just did not want to do it. But he is interested in other things, like he loves construction, working with his hands. He actually built the background for my office and my set. So finding things that they are interested in doing, even though he has no interest in marketing, no interest in sales, no interest in small business, there are still things that we can find that he can do. He's helpful moving things, loading things. He just really loves working with his hands. My second produced our podcast for a while. My third is really good at keyword research and YouTube strategy. So there are things that they're generally really good at, but we have to find a good way for us to be able to work together as well. So here's some of my tips for that. Number one, have really clear expectations when they start. This was an area that we struggled with, where I have a tendency to create a job and then the job grows over time. And that happens naturally in business and it happens with my team members. But my children did not appreciate that. They felt like they had said yes to, agreed to, and could handle one job. And when the job started to grow, they didn't necessarily feel competent or interested in some of the other things.
I don't want to do this anymore.
And it is different having your children work for you versus somebody else. There is a sense of, I don't really want to do that, but I do want to do this. That you're just going to have to navigate and talk through and figure out what are their boundaries, what are your boundaries, because you have a very different relationship with them than you do with anyone else, especially when they are children, which is what we're talking about here. If they were adults, I would say that's a whole different thing. They have to sign up for being a team player and do the job that is needed. But it is different when you're talking about teenagers or kids. The next one is that you have to treat them with the same level of respect that you would treat all of your team members. You kind of do have to separate out work time and family time, and you can't act like their mom or their dad when you need to be acting like their boss. This is hard because it's not necessarily going to come back reciprocally. They don't necessarily treat you like their boss. They treat you like their parent because, again, they're children.
I am your boss.
So being able to teach them how to interact with their boss, what type of respect they should expect from their boss, this is going to help set the tone for them being successful in whatever they decide to do later on in life. It's training ground. The third thing is you do have to hold your standards. So we had to have training conversations with our kids about timelines and deadlines. They were young teenagers when they started working for us, so they didn't really naturally understand timelines and deadlines and the importance of, no, we can't turn this in late, right? Like in school, you can turn something in late. In business, you can't turn something in late. It had a deadline. It has to be out at that time.
Because it's due today and I kind of waited.
So there's training ground with that, and you do have to set standards and reinforce the standards and talk about those standards. If it really isn't working, then you have to have the conversation of, am I firing my child because it's just not working and I need to get someone who can do it, or am I keeping the tax break? For me personally, I value the quality of the output. And so if it isn't working, then I'm gonna make a change and get someone in there who can actually get it to work. That's what I value more, but your situation might be different. So what are some ideas of things that you could hire your kids to do? Let's take a look. You could pay them to clean your office. They could do repair work. So like my office was painted by kid labor, and my backdrop here was built by kid labor, so that's something that you could do. They can do keyword research. Like the younger generation, they are very good with computers and they understand social media. So keyword research, managing your social media. They could do something that's really easy that they can do pretty early on is prospecting and reach outs, because you write the reach out script and it's just very process oriented. Like it's not hard to do. That's a pretty young age you could start paying them to prospect and do reach outs. Editing is another thing. They could edit your videos, they could edit your audio. If they're like good at writing, you could have them do copy editing on your writing. They could do graphic design work. I mean, Canva is not super hard, but it's really fun. My 10-year-old right now is like, what would I have to do to become your graphic designer? And he thinks that sounds like a lot of fun. So you could put them into a graphic design class and then they could start making things for you. Again, sometimes with templates too, you could create design templates that then they just go in and update. I think 10 might be a little too young, but we're probably not that far away from when he could do that. If you're doing any kind of events, they could help with event production. I had a friend years ago who did a lot of live events, and their kids were the DJs and the sound crew and the setup crew, and they helped with a lot of just the event production. Whenever I go to like summer festivals, I love seeing the family businesses that are there, and the kids are there kind of working the booth. They can process orders. I've had a friend who was a speaker, and every time she traveled, she would take one of her kids and she would pay them to do the back of the room book sales and help with processing orders. So there really are a lot of things that you can do to get your kids involved in your business. What I really love about this, I love that they're learning work ethic. I love that they're watching you go after your dreams and seeing you hit walls and solve problems and pick yourself back up. They're learning a lot of valuable lessons that then allow them to go on and use those talents in other places. I don't know if any of my kids are going to want to work with me forever. What I do know is that they have all, when they go out and get jobs, even my 14-year-old has gotten a job and their employers love them because they've been learning to work hard. They've been watching their father and I like really pour our heart and souls into what we do from the time that they were babies. And so they are hard workers. I think growing up in an entrepreneurial household is such a gift for so many kids. They understand things and they look at work differently because they've seen the back end of why it matters. If you are looking for more tips on how to be a better leader in your business, make sure that you subscribe and hit the bell notification so you can get notified every time we release new content. If you want to be a better leader in your business, specifically with your sales and marketing, I would love for you to take our Sales and Marketing GPS. It's an assessment that's going to show you where your gaps are with your sales and marketing, and we will send you a customized 8-page improvement plan. So click the link down below. So today we discussed why hiring your child for tax breaks is a great idea for your business. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Are you going to hire your children? What do they do? What do you pay them for? We would love to get more ideas. And the next video I want you to go watch is creating systems for your business. I can't wait to see you over there.